Captain Edrin Locke leaned back in his command chair with a grin that suggested he just won a bet rather than stumbled into what could be a cosmic death trap. "So this is what a wormhole looks like on the inside," he said, surveying the swirling chaos outside the viewing ports. "Kind of like a space blender that mixed up kale and interstellar regret." Lieutenant Ferris, his second-in-command, squinted at the visuals unimpressed. "I was expecting a bit more. You know, fanfare. A cosmic light show, maybe. Instead, it looks like the universe's worst acid trip." "That's the universe for you," Locke replied. "Always delivering disappointment right on schedule." He tapped the console, bringing up the readouts for anything that might resemble a safe exit, or an exciting one. The line was thin. "So, where's this so-called temple?" Ferris pointed at a glowing mass in the distance, a structure drifting lazily through the soup of space-time distortions. "If our sensors aren't lying, that's our ancient temple." "Whatever the hell it's doing here," Locke chuckled. "An alien temple just hanging out in a wormhole. Why not? Maybe it's the universe's way of setting up a keep-out sign." He snapped his fingers at the crew, a ragtag collection of misfits who'd probably lie, cheat, and steal their way through any known sector if given half the chance. "All right, let's get a closer look at this big mystery. Maybe we'll find a cosmic vending machine with snacks from 1,000 worlds." Ensign Cal, a young recruit who still believed in things like heroism and duty, piped up. "Sir, if this temple is revered by multiple alien species, it could be significant." "Significant? Oh, definitely," Locke agreed. "Significant trouble, significant annoyance, and significantly less likelihood of us retiring on a beach planet. But hey, who knows? Maybe it holds the key to the universe, or more likely it's just a cosmic tourist trap." He looked at Ferris. "You up for a little cultural exchange?" Ferris snorted. "If by exchange you mean looting whatever isn't nailed down, sure. Exactly the spirit I was hoping for." Locke stood up, straightening his uniform, which was more symbolic than anything else. No one really cared for dress codes in the middle of cosmic nowhere. "All right, folks, gear up. We're going to visit some ancient aliens, and hopefully they won't be in the mood for visitors." As the shuttle descended toward the temple, Locke surveyed his crew. A collection of the universe's finest miscreants. Ferris, who had an impressive record for making enemies of anything with a pulse. Cal, the kid with stars in his eyes and a whole galaxy of naivety. And Dr. Tess Morrow, the ship's medic who had a bedside manner akin to a grizzly bear with a hangover. "Tess, if this goes sideways, how long do you think it'll take to patch us up, Doctor?" Morrow shrugged, checking her medikit with the enthusiasm of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. "Depends on how many pieces we're in." "Spoken like a true optimist," Locke said, slapping a reassuring hand on her shoulder. She rolled her eyes, a universal gesture of "I hate this job" that transcended species and time. The shuttle landed with an uncomfortable sputter, as though it too was questioning the wisdom of this expedition. Locke led the way, stepping onto the temple's surface with the kind of confidence usually reserved for people with much better plans. The temple loomed above them, an architectural marvel that seemed both ancient and alien, like it had been plucked from the nightmares of a god with a grudge. Its walls were engraved with strange symbols that flickered ominously. "Well, it's official," Locke said, tilting his head to get a better view of the towering edifice. "This place is creepy as hell." Cal ran a scanner over the nearest wall, eyes wide with scientific wonder or terror, it was hard to tell. "These symbols are incredible. They might tell us so much about the civilizations that revered this place." "Or," Ferris interjected, "they could just be a cosmic version of 'Don't touch, you idiots,'" Locke smirked. "I like Ferris's theory better. Let's see what else this temple has to say before it inevitably tries to kill us." Inside, the temple was a maze of corridors and chambers, each one more foreboding than the last. The air was stale, as though it hadn't been disturbed in centuries, which, given their location, was probably accurate. Who knew ancient architecture could be so moody, Locke said, his voice echoing off the stone-like walls. He paused at a junction, choosing at random. Left it is. I've always had a good feeling about left turns. What are we hoping to find here anyway? Tess asked, her voice dripping with skepticism. Locke shrugged. Knowledge power, the ability to lord it over every other species we meet, or best case, something shiny we can flog for a profit. I'm betting on cursed relics, Ferris added. Because why not make things interesting? They walked in silence for a while, the weight of the temple pressing down on them like a cosmic hangover. Each step echoed ominously, a reminder that they were not alone here, even if it seemed like it. I think we might be getting close to something, Cal said, his scanner beeping insistently. Close to what, though? That's the million-credit question. Locke rounded a corner and stopped dead. Before them was a massive chamber, the centerpiece of which was an imposing pedestal. Atop it sat a dormant, pulsating entity that glowed with a light that seemed to defy logic. Well, look at that, Ferris whistled, low and impressed despite himself. I'd hate to see what it looks like when it's awake, or how pissed off it gets when disturbed, Tess added. Cal, ever the optimist, approached the entity with wide-eyed curiosity. It's beautiful. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, Locke replied dryly. And in this case, probably the eye of something that eats beholders for breakfast. Should we try to communicate with it? Cal asked, his inner scientist getting the better of his survival instincts. Locke chewed the inside of his cheek, weighing the options. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Besides, death and dismemberment. He gestured for Cal to go ahead. Cal hesitated, then raised a hand as if trying to wave at a neighbor across the street. Hello, cosmic entity. We come in peace mostly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entity flickered and a low hum filled the air, vibrating in their bones. Is that a good sign or a bad one? Ferris asked, keeping one hand near his blaster just in case. Locke shrugged. Could be the cosmic equivalent of flipping us the bird. Well, at least we've made contact, Cal said, attempting to stay positive. Right. And now we just have to hope it doesn't decide we're the main course, Locke replied, feeling the familiar thrill of danger mixed with the nagging suspicion they'd bitten off more than they could chew. Let's head back to the ship and see if this place has any more secrets it's willing to share. As they retraced their steps, Locke couldn't shake the feeling that the temple was watching them, measuring their worth, or lack thereof. This isn't over, he muttered to himself. Tess caught up with him, sensing his unease. Think there's more to this place than just a creepy attic in the universe's basement. Oh, definitely, Locke said, glancing back at the now distant glow of the entity. And if I've learned anything from our little adventures, it's that the universe loves to throw curveballs when you least expect them. Ferris, walking a few steps ahead, looked back with a smirk. Well, I say bring it on. I could use a little excitement that doesn't involve another bar fight. You and me both, Locke agreed, refusing to let the potential doom hanging over them kill his mood. Besides, what's life without a little risk? As they boarded the shuttle, engines humming to life with reluctant obedience, Locke took one last look at the temple. Part of him was curious to see what secrets it held. Another part, the more sensible part, was just glad they hadn't been vaporized. The shuttle lifted off, pulling away from the enigmatic structure and back towards the swirling chaos of the wormhole. Well, that was fun, Ferris said as he slumped into a seat, looking only mildly relieved. Fun's one way to put it, Locke said, settling in for the ride back. Let's just hope whatever that thing was has a sense of humor. As the temple disappeared from view, Locke couldn't help but wonder what they'd stumbled into, and how long they had before the universe decided to collect the tab for their curiosity. Guess we'll just have to wait and see, he muttered, already plotting their next move, because if there was one thing Captain Edrin Locke was good at, it was finding trouble and, worse yet, dragging everyone else along for the ride. As the shuttle docked back onto the ship, Captain Edrin Locke took a deep breath, letting the recycled air of their trusty bucket of bolts fill his lungs. Everything smelt slightly of burnt toast and misplaced optimism, a scent he associated with the kind of trouble that always found them. "Welcome back to paradise," he said, smirking at the crew as they disembarked. "Who missed me?" Only the universe's collective sense of irony, Ferris replied, giving the captain a light punch on the arm as he passed. Jessa Quell, their resident tech wizard with a penchant for illegal upgrades and questionable life choices, was already at the console, her fingers dancing over keys like a pianist in a murder mystery soundtrack. "I missed you, Captain," she said dryly, not looking up from her work. "Miss the way you bring chaos wherever you go." "Chaos is just another word for opportunity," Locke quipped, peeking over her shoulder at the display. "And what's life without a little excitement?" "Safer, but less interesting," Jessa agreed, finally glancing up with a grin. "So, I take it the temple didn't implode when you looked at it funny." "Not yet," Locke said, turning to face the rest of his motley crew. "But we're not out of the cosmic woods. I want everyone ready for the next round of fun, whatever shape that takes." Nico Varus, the linguist who could charm the pants off a rock, or at least convince it to tell him its life story, sauntered over with a bemused expression. "I heard we found a cosmic nightlight." "Anything I should know before it decides to tell us all its hopes and dreams? Just that it might not be thrilled we're poking around," Ferris added. "But hey, when has that ever stopped us?" Locke nodded. "Exactly. We need to figure out what we're dealing with before it figures us out first. Jessa, see if you can get anything from the temple's frequency signals. Nico, start brushing up on your ancient alien hieroglyphics, just in case we need to sweet-talk our way out." "Sweet-talking is my specialty," Nico said, winking. "Just remind me if this thing has a concept of humor." "I'd hate to offend a cosmic deity because it doesn't get a joke." As they settled into their tasks, the ship hummed with activity, a stark contrast to the quiet menace of the temple they'd just left. Locke couldn't help but feel like they were trying to outmaneuver a hangover by drinking more, a plan with typically mixed results. "An eye you're in," Jessa called out. "Captain, you're going to want to see this." Locke sauntered over, hands in his pockets, projecting the kind of casual bravado that said he definitely wasn't worried. "Got something for me. More like something for all of us," Jessa replied, gesturing at the screen where a complex array of signals was dancing like an angry storm. "The temple's not just sitting pretty. It's broadcasting a distress signal, intergalactic SOS, on frequencies I haven't seen since that time we tried smuggling those rare space iguanas." "Ah, the iguana incident," Locke reminisced fondly. "But this is big, very big," Jessa confirmed. "And it's not just a friendly come save me, it's more like come see the light show before the universe implodes." "So, more of a cosmic screw you then?" Ferris asked, leaning in to get a better view. "Seems that way," Jessa replied. Nico's eyes lit up. "This could be a cultural announcement or a very enthusiastic invitation. More like a neon kick-me sign," Locke said. "Let's assume every opportunistic alien within hearing range is already making their way here for a piece of the action." "Can't say I blame them," Ferris replied, checking his blaster with a mechanical hiss. "We do the same," Cal, eager as ever, chimed in. "But if alien factions are converging, this is a chance to..." "To what?" Locke interrupted with a grin. "Make new friends, extend the hand of cosmic diplomacy. Maybe get a participation trophy, or get blown into space dust," Ferris added, ever the realist. Cal deflated slightly but rallied. "We have to try, don't we?" Locke patted him on the shoulder, a wry smile on his lips. "Kid, I admire your spirit. Might not save you, but it'll make for a great last stand." The ship's warning klaxon suddenly blared, cutting off further banter. The kind of noise that usually meant a headache was inbound, figuratively or literally. "Looks like we've got company," Jessa said, her fingers flying over the controls as alien ships began appearing on the horizon like a swarm of angry bees. "And they're not here for tea and biscuits." Locke squared his shoulders, adrenaline kicking in as it always did when things went sideways. "All right, people, battle stations. Let's show these aliens why it's a bad idea to crash our party uninvited." The crew jumped into action, the ship's interior coming alive with the sound of boots on metal and the low thrum of readying weapons. The simplicity of impending combat was almost comforting. No time for doubts, just action. Outside, the ships drew closer, an eclectic mix of designs and colors that suggested a ragtag collection of species, each with their own agenda. Locke wondered how many just wanted to loot the temple and how many had more nefarious plans. "Captain," Nico called out from his station, "we're picking up communication signals. They're trying to contact us." "Patch them through," Locke ordered, folding his arms. "Let's see who's on the other end of the line." The main screen flickered, then resolved into the face of a reptilian being, scales glinting under ship lights. Its eyes were fixed, unblinking, like it was sizing them up for dinner. "Greetings, lesser beings," it hissed, voice akin to nails on a chalkboard. "You trespass on sacred ground." "Yeah, well, we thought it was a public park," Locke replied, unfazed. "And who might you be?" "I am Exarch Arkar, protector of the temple," it declared with the arrogance of someone who wasn't used to being questioned. "Surrender, and your demise will be swift," Locke smirked. "Appreciate the offer, but we're kind of attached to our ship and breathing. What exactly does the temple mean to you?" Arkar's eyes narrowed. "It is the key to power beyond your comprehension. A nexus of forces that your puny minds cannot fathom." "That's what they all say," Ferris muttered. "Universal cliché." Locke leaned back, nodding sagely. "All right then, Arkar, you've convinced me, we're leaving, but if anyone asks, we didn't see any sacred whoosits or whatsits." Arkar's tongue flicked out, annoyed. "Do not mock us, human. We are not alone." "Neither are we," Locke countered, glancing at his crew with a fond smile. "And we're not so easily impressed by threats." The transmission cut off, leaving the air buzzing with unspoken tension. Locke turned to his crew, expression serious. "Okay, folks, we've got a temple full of cosmic mysteries, an alien armada on our doorstep, and a reptilian with delusions of grandeur. What's the plan?" "Plan A, run," Jessa suggested, half joking. "Plan B, figure out what the hell that temple is broadcasting before everyone else does," Ferris added. "Plan C, hope Arkar gets eaten by something nastier than us," Nico threw in. "Sounds like a winning strategy," Locke said, clapping his hands. "Let's get to it." As the ship navigated the growing tension outside, Locke's mind whirred with possibilities. The temple was a wild card, an unknown quantity that could be a treasure trove or a death trap. For now, they'd play it cool, keep their options open, and see just how much trouble they could cause before everything inevitably went sideways. The ship's engines thrummed with energy, and Locke felt the familiar pull of another adventure about to kick into high gear. Whatever happened next, it was sure to be interesting, and probably deadly. But then again, that was the price of curiosity in space, and if they were lucky, they'd live long enough to regret it. "Keep your eyes peeled and your fingers crossed," Locke said, a grin spreading across his face. "I've got a feeling we're in for one hell of a ride." The ship's interior was an orchestra of chaos, with Locke conducting from his makeshift podium, the captain's chair. "All right, folks, let's try not to embarrass ourselves in front of the neighbors." Again, Nico was hunched over the translator console, fiddling with knobs and dials like a mad scientist trying to decode a cosmic recipe. "Captain, these signals are more scrambled than a drunk's recollection of last night. Whatever's talking, it's not speaking any language we've got on file." "Typical," Locke grunted. "Aliens with advanced technology, and they can't even install Rosetta Stone." Jessa Quell, the tech wizard with the magical touch of making things work that shouldn't, piped up from her station. "Maybe it's not about understanding the words. Some cultures communicate through interpretive dance. Maybe send Cal to wiggle his hips at them." Cal, ever the enthusiastic, if somewhat naive, optimist, frowned. "I'd do it if I thought it'd help," Locke chuckled. "Appreciate the spirit, but I doubt our guests out there are fans of intergalactic salsa." "Nico, keep at it. Try not to blow up the ship, yeah." Nico muttered something under his breath, probably a colorful commentary on the captain's ancestry, but nodded and went back to work. Meanwhile, Ferris was monitoring the external threats. The alien ships were still hovering, not quite attacking, but not exactly sending over welcome baskets either. "They're just waiting," Ferris said, a touch of admiration in his voice. "Like vultures waiting for a space corpse." "Lovely image," Locke replied. "Let's hope we're not the main course." Jessa leaned back from her console, a frown creasing her brow. "I can set up a jammer to buy us some time, but if these guys are serious about that temple, they won't take kindly to us playing keep away." Locke shrugged. "Not exactly a new situation for us, is it? We'll deal with the fallout later. For now, stall them. I want to know what's inside that temple before the whole universe shows up claiming they've got a reservation." Cal, with his unquenchable thirst for heroism, piped up. "Maybe we could try talking to them again. Explain that we mean no harm," Ferris snorted. "Sure, and I'll wear a tutu and dance ballet in zero-G. Face it, kid, they're not here to swap cookie recipes." Locke laid a hand on Cal's shoulder. "Optimism's a fine trait, Cal, but in this line of work, it's usually the first thing to get shot." Cal nodded, trying to look more seasoned than he felt. "Understood, Captain." The tension was a tangible thing, buzzing in the recycled air like a particularly aggressive mosquito. Every creak of the ship's hull seemed louder, every blip on the radar more ominous. Locke watched the alien armada through the view screen, their ships as different from each other as they were from his own. A united front of disunity, each likely ready to stab the other in the back for a bigger slice of the cosmic pie. "Jessa, anything we can do to crack open that temple's broadcast?" Locke asked, rubbing a hand over his stubbled jaw. "Short of asking it nicely, not much. It's like trying to decrypt the universe's most convoluted puzzle box, and I'm out of patience and coffee." "Can't have that," Locke said with mock seriousness. "A caffeine-deprived tech wizard is a danger to us all." Just then, the ship shuddered, and a warning light flickered to life over Ferris's station. "We're getting a lot of interference from the temple. Whatever it's doing, it's not playing nice with our systems." Nico snapped his fingers. "Could be some kind of defensive mechanism, like a cat hissing when you get too close." "Great," Locke said, rolling his eyes. "We're dealing with a cosmic cat. What's next? It'll start knocking planets off tables." The crew chuckled, though the laughter had an edge of nervousness to it. They all knew the stakes, but gallows humor was their coping mechanism of choice. "All right," Locke said, standing up and stretching. "Let's try a different approach. Nico, keep working on the translation. Jessa, get that jammer ready. Ferris, keep those alien ships at bay, and Cal." "Yes, Captain. Try not to get shot." Cal gave a lopsided grin. "I'll do my best." As the crew busied themselves with their tasks, the alien armada outside stayed poised, a silent threat. Locke took a moment to consider their odds. Not great, but then again, neither was managing to find socks without holes in them. Life was a series of calculated risks. This one just had a slightly higher chance of explosive decompression. Suddenly, the ship's intercom crackled to life, an ominous message echoing through the halls. "Attention intruders," a guttural voice rumbled. "Your presence is an affront. Depart immediately or face annihilation." "Friendly bunch," Ferris quipped. "Really know how to roll out the welcome mat." Locke keyed the intercom. "This is Captain Locke of the good ship Teacup, and we're here on a peaceful mission of curiosity and exploration. Also, we're a bit lost." The alien voice responded with what might have been a derisive snort. "You have trespassed on a sacred site. Your curiosity will lead to your downfall." Locke covered the mouthpiece. "Well, they are chatty. Could use some pointers on diplomacy, though." Jessa looked up from her console. "You really think they're going to just let us walk away?" "Not without trying to turn us into space debris first," Locke admitted. "But if they are talking, they're not shooting. Yet." "We could try bluffing," Nico suggested. "Make them think we've got a bigger stick than we actually do." "Not a bad idea," Locke mused. "But let's keep that as a last resort. I'd rather not provoke a fight before we absolutely have to." The ship's engines hummed with latent power, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. Locke could almost hear the countdown ticking in his head, each second bringing them closer to a confrontation they might not walk away from. Jessa's voice cut through his thoughts. "Captain, the jammer's ready." Should throw them off our trail at least for a little while. Good, Locke said. Activate it. Let's see how much breathing room we can get. The ship shuddered slightly as the jammer came online, sending out a wave of interference that scrambled the alien signals. For a moment, there was silence as if the universe was holding its breath. Then an explosion rocked the ship, alarms blaring as the lights flickered. Guess they didn't like that, Ferris noted dryly, steadying himself against the console. No kidding, Locke replied, grabbing the back of his chair to keep his balance. Damage report. Shields absorbed most of it, Jessa said, fingers flying over her controls. But we're not going to survive another hit like that. Then let's make sure there isn't one, Locke said, determination hardening his voice. Nico, any luck with the translation? Some, Nico replied, not looking up from his screen. But it's like trying to have a conversation with someone who only speaks in riddles. Keep at it, Locke said. We need all the help we can get. The ship's sensors picked up another surge of energy from the temple, a concentrated beam that lanced out like a spear of light. It danced across the surface of the nearest alien ship, causing it to wobble uncertainly. What the hell was that? Ferris demanded. Guess the temple's getting antsy, Locke said. Maybe it doesn't like being the center of attention. The alien ships, momentarily distracted by the temple's display, gave the crew a brief respite. Locke seized the opportunity. Jessa, any chance of using that energy against them? She hesitated, chewing her bottom lip. It's risky, we could end up getting fried-eye ourselves. Never stopped us before, Locke said with a grin. See what you can do. As Jessa scrambled to adjust the ship's systems, Cal's voice came over the comms. Captain, we've got more ships incoming. Looks like the whole galaxy wants a peek at the temple. Great, Locke sighed. Just what we needed. A cosmic traffic jam. Ferris let out a low whistle. Hope we brought enough snacks for the party. Locke watched as the new arrivals joined the fray, a kaleidoscope of ships surrounding the temple like moths to a particularly volatile flame. Each one a potential threat, each one a gamble on what they wanted. All right, crew, Locke said, his voice firm. We're not going down without a fight. Let's see if we can't turn this mess to our advantage. With the alien armada distracted and the temple's energy adding an unpredictable element to the mix, the crew of the Teacup dove headlong into the fray, determined to make their mark on this cosmic stage. As the chaos unfolded, Locke couldn't help but think that, win or lose, they'd definitely have some war stories to tell. If they survived, that is. But then again, what was life without a little risk? The teacup rattled and groaned like an old man after a long night of drinking. Locke leaned back in his chair, watching chaotic lights flicker across the console. The cosmos had thrown them into a blender, and they were just the cocktail garnish. All right, crew, Locke said, drumming his fingers. We've got a cosmic entity playing Peeping Tom, a gaggle of aliens threatening to blow us to bits, and a temple that's crankier than a nun at a rock concert. Suggestions? Ferris, not known for his optimism, shrugged. Drink heavily and pray. Solid plan, Locke said, but maybe we'll keep that as plan B. From her station, Jessa Quell's fingers danced across the keys with the kind of precision that came from years of making things work under impossible conditions. I'm working on redirecting some of the temple's energy. If I can sync it with our systems, we might stabilize this whole mess, or blow us up. 50-50. Sounds like a bet worth taking, Locke said. Nico, how's the translation coming? Nico was hunched over the translator console, muttering to himself, like unraveling a ball of yarn held by a particularly hyperactive cat. I've got bits and pieces, but so far no hello, how are you? Keep at it, Locke replied. Cal, any ideas? Cal, ever the eager beaver, scratched his head. Maybe we appeal to their sense of wonder. Show them the beauty of discovery, Ferris snorted. Kid, the only wonder they are interested in is wondering how quickly they can blow us into space dust. Locke shared a sympathetic glance with Cal. Nice thought, but let's stick to things that don't require miracles. Jessa, how risky is this plan of yours on a scale of 1 to catastrophic? We're at a comfortable might need a new ship. But hey, no risk, no reward, right? Locke grinned. That's the spirit. Let's make sure our trusty bucket of bolts doesn't become an expensive firework. Jessa nodded, fingers flying as she worked her magic. The ship trembled again, but this time it felt different. Less like an imminent disintegration and more like a reluctant compliance. In the distance, the temple pulsed with energy, sending ripples that danced across the hull. Ferris, Locke said, keep those ships at bay. If they get twitchy, give them something else to worry about. Ferris grinned, adjusting the targeting systems. With pleasure, Captain. Nothing like a good game of cosmic keep-away. Meanwhile, Nico was locked in a battle of wits with the translator, a string of colorful curses escaping his lips. I've got something, he finally announced. Not much, but maybe enough to buy us some time. Locke raised an eyebrow. Do tell. Well, according to this, the entity's not a fan of all the attention. It's like having a spotlight shoved in its face. If we can convince the others to back off, it might calm down. Great, Locke said. And how do we do that? Send out a group text, Nico shrugged. Not quite, but I'm working on a broadcast. Something that might get through that thick alien skull. Locke nodded. Make it happen. And let's hope they're in the mood to listen. The ship continued its dance through space, the alien ships hovering menacingly but keeping their distance for now. Outside, the temple's glow shimmered, casting eerie shadows over the starry expanse. All right, folks, Locke said, his voice carrying a gritty determination. If we're going to pull this off, we need to be quicker and smarter than everyone else. We've been in tighter spots, but we've always come out swinging. Cal nodded enthusiastically. We can do this. Just like in the stories, Ferris smirked. Yeah, except this story comes with a side of imminent death. But hey, makes for a hell of a plot twist. Jessa's screen flashed and she grinned triumphantly. I've got it. We're synced with the temple's energy. Now we're either stabilizing our systems or inventing a new way to explode. Let's aim for the former, Locke said wryly, though the latter would definitely leave an impression. With a flick of her finger, Jessa activated the connection. The ship seemed to hum with a new life, vibrations coursing through its frame. The temple's energy fed into their systems, bolstering shields and boosting power. Feels like we've just had a shot of adrenaline, Ferris remarked. Let's hope it doesn't come with a heart attack, Locke retorted. Nico, still working on his broadcast, paused to look up. I think I've got something. A message that might resonate with the entity. If it doesn't, well, we'll at least have given it a good lullaby. Locke clapped his hands. Then let's sing it a song it can't ignore. Jessa, Ferris, keep the system steady. Cal, be ready for anything. And Nico, give us your best intergalactic TED talk. Nico took a deep breath, fingers hovering over the console. Here goes nothing. As Nico transmitted his message, the temple's energy shifted subtly, its glow flickering. Outside, the alien ships hesitated, unsure whether to approach or retreat. Locke watched the view screen, the suspense almost tangible. Come on, you oversized disco ball. Give us something. For a moment, silence reigned. Then the temple pulsed again, its energy radiating outward in a wave. The alien ships, caught in the blast, wobbled and veered off course, temporarily blinded by the surge. Well, that was unexpected, Ferris said, sounding almost impressed. Sometimes the universe throws you a bone, Locke replied. Or in this case, a very angry cosmic flashbang. The alien ships, now momentarily distracted, gave the teacup a precious window of opportunity. Locke seized it, his mind racing with possibilities. All right, let's make the most of this, he said. Jessa, keep us stable. Ferris, keep an eye on those ships. Cal, Nico, prep for any surprises. The crew sprang into action, their movements practiced and precise. The teacup danced through the chaos, a nimble fly amid a swarm of lumbering giants. Captain, Jessa called, systems are holding for now. But we're running on borrowed time. That's fine, Locke said, his grin never wavering. I'm used to borrowing time. Just make sure we return it with interest. Nico gave a thumbs up from his station. Broadcasts out. Let's see if it gives our cosmic friends something to think about. The temple responded almost immediately, its energy stabilizing and the flickering glow settling into a rhythmic pulse. It was as if the entity had found a sense of calm, soothed by Nico's message. Well, I'll be damned, Ferris said, genuine surprise in his voice. Looks like we're not dead yet. Never doubted us for a second, Locke replied, though his heart still pounded with adrenaline. All right, let's see if we can negotiate a more permanent truce. With the temple no longer a source of imminent destruction, the alien ships began to back off, their aggressive stance softening. It seemed the cosmic entity's influence extended beyond just energy surges. It also held a sway over the minds of those who dared approach. Locke took a deep breath, the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders. All right, people. We've bought ourselves a bit of breathing room, but we're not out of the woods yet. Let's see if we can turn this into a win. As the crew worked tirelessly, the teacup systems hummed with borrowed energy. Outside, the alien ships lingered, their curiosity piqued but their aggression tempered. Captain Nico said, looking up from his console, I think the entity understands us now, or at least doesn't want to squash us like bugs. Well, that's a start, Locke said. Let's see if we can talk our way into a more permanent arrangement. Jessa, you up for some more technical wizardry? Always, she replied with a smirk. Let's see if we can make friends with a cosmic entity. Locke nodded, the beginnings of a plan forming in his mind. If they could communicate with the entity, perhaps they could broker a deal, turning this chaotic encounter into a mutual understanding. All right, Nico, Locke said, let's send another message. Something a bit more formal this time. And Jessa, see if you can keep those systems stable while we negotiate with our new friend. The crew continued their work, a sense of cautious optimism rising among them. The alien ships, once a looming threat, now seemed distant, their interest waning in the face of the temple's newfound calm. As Nico crafted his message, Locke considered their next steps. They had come face to face with a powerful entity, survived an alien standoff, and managed to keep their ship from becoming space dust. Not a bad day's work, all things considered. All right, let's see what we can do about making this a permanent truce, Locke said, determination lacing his voice. We've got a chance to turn this chaos into something positive. Let's not waste it. With the temple's calming influence spreading across the starry expanse, the crew of the teacup worked tirelessly, driven by a shared sense of purpose, and the hope that they could emerge from this ordeal not only alive but victorious. As the ship settled into a more stable orbit, Locke allowed himself a moment of reflection. They had faced overwhelming odds, danced with cosmic forces beyond their understanding, and yet through it all they had survived. Not bad for day's work, Ferris remarked, a rare note of satisfaction in his voice. Not bad at all, Locke agreed. Now let's make sure it stays that way. And with that, the crew of the teacup continued their efforts, determined to forge a new path in the unpredictable chaos of the cosmos, their humor and determination guiding them ever forward. The teacup was teetering on the brink of absolute implosion, and honestly, Captain Edrin Locke couldn't be prouder. Nothing screamed good day at the office like the threat of being swallowed whole by a pissed-off cosmic entity. The temple, that had initially promised ancient wisdom or at least some cool alien relics, was now acting like that one aunt at family gatherings who just couldn't let go of her resentment and had a penchant for voodoo dolls. Locke leaned back in his chair, well, the part of it that hadn't been fried into a crisp by a short circuit, and sighed. All right, folks. Looks like our cosmic friend here wants to play hardball. Suggestions? Maybe it wants a hug, Ferris deadpanned, not looking up from his console where he was trying to keep the ship from becoming a fine spray of atoms. Or maybe it's just having a bad day. Either way, it's not inviting us to tea. Tea's overrated, Locke mused. I'm more of a whiskey guy myself. Captain, Jessa interjected, fingers dancing over her console like a concert pianist trying to hit the right notes in a hurricane. Our energy reserves are shot. We're bleeding power like a stuck pig. Locke nodded, the situation grim but not without its twisted charms. Perfect. Just the way I like it, surviving on fumes and sheer bloody-mindedness. Cal, the bright-eyed innocent who was yet to have the optimism thoroughly beaten out of him, looked around with a mix of terror and excitement. Surely we can find a way to communicate and reason with it, right? Maybe all it needs is to see our sincerity. Locke chuckled darkly. Oh, Cal, if only cosmic entities respected sincerity. But I think they are more into existential dread and chaos, like the rest of us. Ferris laughed, the sound more of a bark. Optimism's cute, kid. But out here, it's more likely to get you killed than cushy. Nico, the linguist who could charm a snake into handing over its scales, had his hands full with the translator console. I've been trying to send it all the cosmic lullabies I know, but it seems like it's more into heavy metal. Well, keep blasting those tunes, Locke said, rubbing his temples. If nothing else, maybe it'll headbang itself to exhaustion. The temple's glow intensified, casting sinister shadows across their faces. The entity was flexing its muscles, and they were smack dab in the middle of its celestial gym. Outside, the alien fleet watched, probably placing bets on how long the ragtag human crew would last. Jessa's console beeped, a sound akin to a death knell. Captain, the temple's energy is increasing exponentially. If we don't stabilize it soon, we're looking at a cosmic meltdown. Fantastic, Locke muttered. We've got front row seats to our own funeral. Ferris adjusted his controls, his expression one of grim determination. I can keep the alien ships at bay, at least for a while. But it's like trying to swat flies with a wet noodle. Locke turned to Jessa and Nico. We need a new plan. Something that doesn't end with us being atomized or worse, stuck in an eternal loop of this cosmic sitcom. Nico shrugged, still tapping away furiously. I'm working on a new message, something more existential. Maybe it'll appreciate the poetry, Locke smirked. Sure, why not? Maybe it's a sucker for a good haiku, Cal piped up, his youthful zeal undiminished. What if we try to harness the temple's energy, use it to boost our systems? Jessa raised an eyebrow. That's assuming we survive the attempt. But hey, it's as good a Hail Mary as any. Desperation's the mother of invention, Locke declared, standing up and pacing the cramped bridge. Jessa, see what you can do to tap into that energy. Ferris, keep our friends outside from crashing the party. Cal, Nico, prep for whatever comes next. As the crew scrambled, the temple's pulsing grew more erratic, as if it was deciding between obliterating them outright or letting them live long enough to regret their life choices. The teacup shuddered, a tin can in a cosmic windstorm, and Locke gritted his teeth, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. In the quiet moments between chaos, he found a strange sense of peace. This was where he belonged, on the edge, tempting fate and flipping the bird to the universe. Captain Nico called out, a hint of triumph in his voice. I think I've got something. A message, a plea, a cosmic sonnet, Locke grinned. Then send it. Let's see if the universe has a soft spot for pretty words. The ship lurched again, a reminder that time was running out. Locke watched the view screen, where the temple loomed inscrutable and all-powerful, like a deity deciding the fate of mortals. In truth, it was just another obstacle in their path, another challenge to be met with grit and gallows humor. As Nico's message transmitted, the temple's glow dimmed slightly, as if pausing to consider the entreaty. The alien ships, sensing a shift, held their positions, waiting to see if the humans would be obliterated or exalted. Hold steady, Locke commanded, though his hands itched to take action. Let's see if we've just talked our way out of annihilation. Jessa's console beeped again, this time with a more hopeful tone. Captain, I think the message is having an effect. The energy levels are fluctuating, but not in a destructive way. So we're not dead yet, Ferris quipped. Guess that's something. The temple's energy, once a chaotic maelstrom, began to pulse in a rhythmic pattern, almost like a heartbeat. It was a sign, subtle and fleeting, but enough to suggest that the entity was considering their presence. All right, people, Locke said, his voice steady despite the turmoil. We might have bought ourselves some time, but we're not out of the woods yet. Let's keep this dance going. As the teacup navigated the tempest, Locke took stock of his crew. They were a ragged bunch, resourceful and irreverent, but they were his kind of people. They'd faced death together more times than he could count, and they'd do it again before the day was out. Jessa, any improvements on the energy front? Locke asked, peering over her shoulder. Working on it, she replied tersely, her focus unbroken. Think of it as wiring a bomb to bake a cake. Just make sure it's not a souffle, Ferris commented dryly. Those things collapse under pressure. Cal chuckled nervously, his eyes wide but determined. I've got faith in us. We'll turn this around. Faith's good, kid, Locke said, patting Cal on the shoulder. But let's back it up with some good old-fashioned ingenuity. The ship groaned, its metal frame protesting under the strain. Outside, the alien ships watched, an audience to the human crew's desperate gambit. The temple, a silent judge, seemed to hover between wrath and curiosity. Captain Nico said, breaking the tense silence. I think we're building a rapport. Or at least it hasn't vaporized us yet. Progress, Locke acknowledged, a hint of relief in his voice. Let's keep it that way. With the temple's energy stabilizing, the immediate threat of destruction receded slightly, but the crew knew better than to get comfortable. They were still dancing on the edge of a knife, and any wrong move could see them tumble into oblivion. Jessa, any chance we can tap into the temple's energy long enough to give us a boost? Locke asked, his mind racing with possibilities. She nodded, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. It's risky, but if we can piggyback on its energy output, we might just make it out of here in one piece. Then let's do it, Locke said decisively. We didn't come this far to go down without a fight. As Jessa worked her magic, the crew braced for the outcome. The alien ship circled warily, their intentions unclear but their interest undoubtedly piqued. Cal, Nico, be ready to back her up if anything goes south, Locke ordered, his gaze fixed on the pulsating temple. Ready and willing, Cal replied, his youthful enthusiasm undampened. If we survive this, drinks are on you, Ferris said, his trademark smirk firmly in place. You're on, Locke replied, feeling the camaraderie of his crew bolster his spirits. With one final keystroke, Jessa initiated the connection, and the ship's systems hummed with the borrowed power of the ancient temple. It was a gamble, a high-stakes maneuver that could just as easily end in disaster as salvation. The teacup surged forward, propelled by the temple's energy, and for a moment it seemed as if they might just pull off the impossible. But the universe, never one to let a crew of underdogs get too comfortable, had other plans. The temple pulsed violently, a reminder that they were far from safe. Locke gritted his teeth, determination etched into every line of his face. Hold on, everyone. This ride's far from over. The crew, united in their struggle, prepared for the next phase of their battle against the cosmic forces arrayed against them. They were battered, bruised, but unbroken, a testament to human tenacity in the face of overwhelming odds. As the teacup raced through the storm, Locke couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. They were alive, against all logic and probability, and as long as there was breath in their lungs, they'd keep fighting. All right, team, he said, his voice carrying a note of steely resolve. Let's show this entity what we're made of. And with that, the crew of the teacup plunged headlong into the chaos, their humor, grit, and determination lighting the way through the darkest reaches of the cosmos. Locke wiped a hand over his face, sweat mingling with the recycled air, giving it a metallic tang he could almost taste. All right, Jessa, tell me you've got some genius plan to save our sorry hides. Jessa, fingers flying over her console, let out a laugh that could only be described as unhinged. Oh, I've got a plan, all right. It's about as safe as juggling chainsaws while blindfolded, but it's a plan. Well, we do like living on the edge, Locke replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. What are we looking at? She glanced up, eyes sparking with something that might have been excitement or impending madness. I think I can get our tech to sync with the temple's energy patterns. It's like trying to teach a cat to play fetch, but if it works, we might get a short-term power boost, Ferris snorted. And if it doesn't work, we get a first-hand look at what being vaporized feels like, Jessa said cheerfully. But hey, no risk, no reward. Locke nodded, the weight of leadership a familiar burden on his shoulders. All right then, let's get to it. Cal, Nico, you're on standby to help Jessa make this miracle happen. Cal's eyes were wide, somewhere between awe and terror. I've read about stuff like this, you know. Heroic last stands and all that. Yeah, well, Locke said, clapping him on the back with what he hoped was a reassuring thud. We're more heroic stubbornness than anything else. Nico, still fiddling with his translator console, chimed in with characteristic snark. If this works, we're either geniuses or the luckiest fools in the universe. Either way, I'll take it. Outside, the alien fleet watched like a pack of interstellar hyenas, eager for the scent of blood in the water. They were spectators to humanity's finest, or perhaps dumbest, moment. Jessa took a deep breath and cracked her knuckles with the professional resolve of someone who'd hacked into more systems than she'd care to admit. Okay, let's get this over with. Time to plug in and pray. The ship vibrated ominously, the kind of sound that suggested things were about to go very right or horribly wrong. Locke watched as Jessa synced the ship's systems with the temple's chaotic energy, a task akin to persuading a storm to take a coffee break. Cal was at her side, offering whatever help his youthful enthusiasm could muster. I can reroute some of the auxiliary power to smooth things over if that helps. Why not? Jessa shrugged. It's not like we need life support when we're fried. The teacup systems flickered, lights dancing like manic fireflies. Locke felt a strange calm settle over him, the kind that always preceded disaster or triumph. Everyone brace yourselves, this could get bumpy. Could get bumpy, Ferris echoed, one eyebrow raised. We've already got one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. Jessa muttered something under her breath that sounded suspiciously like, if this works, I'm buying myself a new planet. As the ship's systems integrated with the temple, Locke felt a surge of energy that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The temple, once an inscrutable adversary, now seemed to hum with an unexpected synergy like a beast momentarily tamed. Captain, Nico called out, his voice laced with disbelief. It's working. The energy's stabilizing and we're not dead. Yet, Locke added automatically. Let's not jinx it. The ship felt alive in a way that was both exhilarating and deeply unsettling, electricity in the air like before a thunderstorm. The temple's energy coursed through their systems, a borrowed lifeline from an alien mystery they barely understood. All right, Jessa, what's next? Locke asked, keeping his tone light even as his mind raced with possibilities. Next, we use this boost to get the hell out of here, Jessa replied, her fingers dancing across the controls with a ferocity that matched her determination. The temple's energy should give us a window. Let's make sure we don't slam it shut on our fingers, Ferris quipped. Cal, ever the optimistic fool, looked between his crewmates with something like hope. If we pull this off, we'll be legends, or cautionary tales, Nico countered. But let's aim for legends, huh? The teacup groaned as the temple's energy enveloped it like a warm, slightly murderous blanket. Locke felt the shift. The ship was no longer just a bucket of bolts struggling through the cosmos. It was something more, at least for the moment. All right, team, Locke said, the steadiness in his voice belying the chaos around them. Let's ride this wave and make it count. The temple's glow intensified, not with menace, but with something almost akin to curiosity. The alien fleet continued their watch, an audience to the humans' audacious gamble. Captain, Jessa announced, her voice a mixture of triumph and disbelief. We're synced and stable. For now, Locke allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. Good. Now let's get out of here before the universe remembers it hates us. Cal was grinning, the tension momentarily forgotten. I knew we could do it. Don't start the victory lap yet, Cal, Ferris warned, though there was a hint of a smile on his lips. We've still got a ways to go. With the temple's energy under their control, the teacup surged forward, not with the clumsy desperation of before, but with a newfound grace. Locke felt the universe itself hold its breath, waiting to see the outcome of this reckless dance. Keep your eyes on the prize, folks, Locke said, his gaze fixed on the view screen. We're not out of the woods, but we've got one hell of a head start. As the teacup sailed through the cosmic storm, Locke felt a fierce pride in his crew. They'd faced down an impossible challenge and come through the other side, battered but unbeaten. "You might just be the best damn crew in the universe," Locke said, the words feeling truer than any he'd spoken. Ferris chuckled, the sound like gravel underfoot. "Don't go soft on us now, Captain. We wouldn't want the aliens to think we've gone all sentimental." Jessa was already plotting their course, her hands steady and sure on the controls. "Sentimental or not, let's make sure we live to tell the tale." The temple's energy, now a part of them, offered a chance at escape and survival, but Locke knew better than to count their victories before they crossed the finish line. "Cal, keep your eyes peeled for any surprises," Locke ordered, trusting the young ensign's sharp instincts. Cal nodded, eyes wide with a mix of fear and wonder. "You got it, Captain. No stone unturned." The alien fleet, perhaps sensing the shift in power, kept their distance. Locke couldn't help but feel a flicker of satisfaction at the thought of their confusion. "Jessa, once we're clear, see if you can shake off the temple's energy without blowing us to bits," Locke said, acknowledging the irony of their situation. "I'd rather not be permanently tethered to an ancient mystery." "On it," she replied, her focus unwavering. "Let's hope the temple doesn't hold grudges." The teacup, with its newfound vigor, weaved through the cosmic expanse, each moment a testament to human resilience and sheer stubborn will. Locke felt a strange sort of peace settling over him, the calm that always came after the storm. "Captain," Nico said, drawing Locke's attention. "We've got an open channel. The aliens seem to want a word." Locke raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess they're miffed we didn't implode on cue." Nico grinned, the kind of smile that suggested mischief. "Something like that, but they might also be impressed." "Impressed or not, let's not give them another shot at us," Locke said, though there was a note of respect in his voice. "Patch them through." The view screen blinked and an alien face appeared, its expression inscrutable but undeniably curious. "Human vessel," the alien intoned, its voice a strange mix of clicks and lilting tones. "You have adapted." Locke gave a wry smile. "Adapt or die, right? We're stubborn that way." The alien regarded him with what might have been amusement. "Indeed, you have shown great tenacity." "Well, we weren't keen on becoming space dust," Locke replied. "What do you want?" The alien glanced off-screen as if conferring with unseen comrades. "We offer you safe passage in exchange for information." Locke considered the offer, weighing it against the risks. "What kind of information?" "How you synchronized with the temple," the alien said, curiosity evident even in its alien features. Locke shared a look with Jessa and Ferris. "We'll consider it. But for now, we're just looking to get out in one piece." "Understood," the alien replied. "We will not hinder your departure." The screen blinked off, leaving Locke with a sense of cautious optimism. "Well, that's a first. Aliens not trying to vaporize us." Ferris shrugged. "Guess even aliens can appreciate a good underdog story." Jessa was all business as she guided the ship, her focus razor-sharp. "Captain, we're approaching the edge of the temple's influence, preparing to disconnect." The ship shuddered lightly as Jessa initiated the separation, the temple's energy reluctantly releasing its hold like a reluctant lover. "We're clear," Jessa announced, a note of triumph in her voice. Locke let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Good work, everyone. Let's get the hell out of here." As the teacup sped away from the temple and its mysteries, Locke felt the tension ease from his shoulders. They'd survived against all odds and lived to tell the tale. "Anyone else feel like we just survived a cosmic reality show?" Nico said, a grin playing on his lips. Cal laughed, the sound bright and youthful. "And we didn't even have to eat weird alien bugs." "Yet," Ferris added, ever the pessimist. "There's always next mission." Locke leaned back in his seat, the familiar hum of the ship now a comforting rhythm. "All right, crew, let's head home. Drinks are on me." As the teacup charted its course through the stars, the crew settled into a companionable silence, each lost in thoughts of survival and the thrill of having faced down the unknown. For now, they were alive, and that was enough. And as the universe continued its enigmatic dance around them, Locke couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. They were just a ragtag bunch of humans, but they'd held their own against the cosmos. And as long as there were more adventures out there, they'd be ready to face them with humor, grit, and a healthy dose of irreverence. Captain Edrin Locke was beginning to feel like the universe's favorite chew toy. Maybe it was the constant life-threatening scenarios, or the way cosmic forces seemed to delight in dangling them over the abyss. Whatever it was, he had a bone to pick with the cosmic powers that be. But for now, he had bigger issues, namely, the monumental task of not dying. "All right, crew," Locke's voice was calm, which was impressive given the chaos swirling around the teacup. "Let's act like we've been here before." "Not sure we have, Captain," Ferris muttered, his attention split between the controls and the looming alien fleet, which was looking a tad too eager. "Not unless you count that time the cargo bay door wouldn't close during a meteor shower." "Ah, yes. The unforgettable event we now refer to as Meteor Splash Day," Nico quipped, fingers dancing over the translator console. "Good times." Jessa was at her console, eyes laser-focused with the intensity of someone who'd had enough of cosmic nonsense for one lifetime. "We need to stabilize the temple's energy flow," she said, "before it decides we're not interesting enough to keep around." "You mean before it turns us into cosmic confetti," Cal corrected, his youthful optimism apparently having a minor existential crisis. "Semantics," Jessa shrugged, her fingers continuing to work their magic. "Locke, we're going to need a distraction. Something that screams, 'Hey, look over here.'" Locke gave a nod to Ferris, his trusted cynic. "Ferris, you heard the lady. Time to be a shiny object." Ferris smirked, flipping a few switches with the casual flair of a man who'd resigned himself to a life of reckless bravery. "Initiating shiny mode," he drawled, pressing a button that made the teacup's hull shimmer like a disco ball on steroids. If they were going down, they were going down flashy. Nico, meanwhile, was knee-deep in alien linguistics, trying to decipher a language that had more clicks and whirs than a malfunctioning coffee maker. "Captain, I've got the gist of their language, but it's not exactly user-friendly. They're using a weird mix of tones and body language." "Fantastic," Locke deadpanned. "We're up against aliens who communicate through interpretive dance." "Better get your dancing shoes on, Captain," Nico replied, not missing a beat. "They're curious, but they are also trigger-happy." "Great," Ferris chimed in. "Nothing like a curious alien with a finger on the nuke button." Jessa's eyes flicked to Locke, who nodded. "All right, people, let's give them a show. Jessa, how's our lovely temple friend doing?" "Stable for the moment," Jessa replied, her focus unyielding. "I'm redirecting the energy flow to give us a little boost and keep the lights on." Cal was watching the alien fleet, a look of awe mixed with terror on his face. "Captain, they're closing in." "What's our move?" "Our move," Locke said, standing tall, "is to make the universe regret ever doubting us." Nico, sensing the moment, tossed a quick salute. "I've got the translator tuned to broadcast. Let's see if we can't charm them with our wit and not-so-subtle desperation." Locke leaned towards the comms, his voice steady. "Attention, alien fleet. This is Captain Edrin Locke of the Teacup. We come in peace, mostly because we can't afford to do otherwise. We'd appreciate it if you'd hold your fire while we figure out how not to explode." There was a pause, during which time Locke imagined the aliens were either considering their options or trying to decide if humans were worth the hassle. Either way, they didn't blast them to bits, which was a win in Locke's book. "Human vessel," came the slightly garbled reply. "You show unexpected adaptability." Locke raised an eyebrow at Ferris, who shrugged. "We aim to surprise," Locke said. "Mostly ourselves." Ferris, ever the skeptic, smirked. "Must be hard to impress folks who can turn you into space dust with a thought." The alien voice continued, devoid of impatience. "Information. Exchange. Your survival indicates knowledge." "We, intrigued." "Intrigued is good," Nico whispered. "Intrigued means they might not kill us today." Jessa was tapping vigorously at her console, redirecting the temple's energy as if it were a particularly stubborn mule. "Captain, we've got a small window to stabilize and sync our systems. It'll be tight, but it's doable." "Let's make it happen," Locke replied, feeling the adrenaline spike. "Cal, keep an eye on those aliens. If they start making hostile dance moves, I want to know." Cal saluted, his youthful eagerness tempered by the gravity of the situation. "Yes, sir." Jessa's fingers flew over her console, the ship humming with the alien energy she was trying to tame. "All right, people, hold onto something," she warned. The ship vibrated, a low hum that built into a crescendo as Jessa synchronized the teacup systems with the temple's energy. Outside, the temple's glow intensified, a beacon of curiosity in the cosmic darkness. Locke felt a surge of pride in his crew. They'd been through hell and back, and yet here they were, staring down the unknown with grit and dark humor. "Everyone ready for a wild ride?" he asked, a grin spreading across his face. "Like we have a choice," Ferris muttered, but there was a twinkle in his eye. The temple's energy surged, wrapping around the teacup like an embrace. The ship shuddered, then roared forward, propelled by an otherworldly force that was as unpredictable as it was powerful. "Jessa, how are we holding up?" Locke called over the commotion. "Still in one piece," Jessa confirmed. "But it's a tightrope walk. One false move and we'll be atoms." "Well, that's comforting," Cal said, his voice shaking with a mix of fear and exhilaration. Locke kept his gaze steady on the view screen where the alien fleet hung like a gallery of silent judges. "Nico, let's keep our new friends entertained. Maybe they'll appreciate the theatrics." "On it," Nico replied, his fingers a blur across the translator console. "Here's hoping they're more into opera than action movies." The alien voice crackled back to life. "Your actions are intriguing. We observe." "Glad to know we're a hit," Locke quipped. "Stick around, the encore might blow your mind." "Or yours." The teacup surged onward, the temple's energy melding with their systems in a dangerous dance that was equal parts terrifying and exhilarating. Locke felt a strange sense of calm amidst the chaos, the eye of the storm where everything was possible. Jessa's fingers never stopped moving, her focus unyielding. "Captain, we're approaching the edge of the temple's influence." "I'm ready to disengage." Locke nodded, his gaze sweeping over his crew. "All right, people, let's not screw this up." "Always the motivational speaker," Ferris remarked, his voice carrying a hint of respect. Jessa initiated the separation sequence, the ship shuddering as the temple's energy reluctantly released its hold. For a moment it felt like they might tear apart, but then the ship steadied, the alien energy now a memory rather than an impending doom. "We're clear," Jessa announced, her voice steady despite the lingering tension. Locke let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Good work, everyone. Let's get out of here before the universe decides it's not done with us." Nico glanced at the flickering console, then at Locke. "Captain, the aliens aren't firing, they're just watching." "Guess they found us entertaining," Cal said, a nervous laugh escaping him. "Or they're saving the fireworks for later," Ferris added, ever the pessimist. Locke couldn't help but grin. "Either way, we're still in one piece. That counts for something." As the teacup sped away from the temple and its mysteries, Locke felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They'd faced down an impossible challenge and come out the other side, battered, bruised, but undefeated. "All right, crew," Locke said, leaning back in his seat. "Let's head home. Drinks are on me." "Here's hoping they have something stronger than recycled air," Ferris murmured, his gaze fixed on the stars ahead. Locke chuckled, the sound a release of tension and triumph. They'd survived, and for now, that was enough. In the silence that followed, the teacup glided through the cosmos, the crew alive with the knowledge that they'd faced the unknown and emerged with their humanity and humor intact. For now, they were safe, and the universe, in all its chaotic whimsy, would have to wait for another day to throw them into the fire. As they journeyed home, Locke couldn't help but feel a strange kinship with his motley crew. They were an odd bunch, but they were his odd bunch, and together they'd conquered the stars, at least for today. The universe might be a cruel mistress, but with a crew like this, Locke figured he'd keep dancing as long as he could. The moment the teacup limped back into civilian space, Locke felt like he'd just cheated death for the umpteenth time, and he was trying very hard not to get cocky about it. The universe, with its perverse sense of humor, loved to swat down hubris with the cosmic equivalent of a backhand. As the ship's systems hummed back into some semblance of normalcy, Locke took a moment to appreciate his motley crew. They might be a bunch of sarcastic misfits, but they were his misfits, and together they'd managed to not only survive the temple but maybe, just maybe, broker some sort of peace, or at least a ceasefire, with a species that thought modern communication involved a combination of dubstep and ballet. Home sweet home, Ferris grumbled from his station, giving the console a half-hearted thump. Well, the less homicidal corner of the galaxy anyway. Look on the bright side, Nico chimed in. We're not dead, and we've probably thrown the intergalactic betting pool all out of whack. Do you think the aliens set odds on us surviving? Cal asked, his voice filled with morbid curiosity. Probably, Ferris replied. And I'm betting we were the long shot. Nice to feel appreciated, Jessa muttered, rolling her eyes as she recalibrated the ship's energy systems for the umpteenth time. I'm sure they are all just dying to meet us. Literally, I hope not, Locke added, scanning the view screen where the temple was now a distant, unthreatening speck, a souvenir of their latest dance with doom. The ship's comms crackled to life, interrupting the snarkfest. Human vessel, this is the alien entity, came the now familiar voice, still managing to sound aloof. We have observed your actions. They are sufficient. Locke mouthed, raising an eyebrow. Well, it's not the glowing endorsement I was hoping for, but I'll take it. Your cooperation has been noted, the alien continued, as if reading from a script that was as tedious as it was important. We propose a period of observation and potential collaboration. Translation, Ferris said. They're gonna watch us like we're some reality TV show, and if we don't screw up too badly, maybe they'll invite us over for tea. Great, Locke replied. Nothing like being the universe's version of a soap opera. Cal leaned in, enthusiasm flickering like an intermittent power surge. But this could be a chance for real cooperation, right? Like between species, or it could be the start of them figuring out how to best vaporize us without anyone noticing, Nico suggested, ever the optimist. Still, Locke said, leaning back in his chair with a contented sigh, I'd rather be under a microscope than under a gravestone. Captain Edrin Locke, the alien voice persisted, your survival indicates potential. We will continue to observe. Fantastic, Locke replied, feigning enthusiasm. We'll try not to disappoint. With the comms finally silent, the crew allowed themselves a moment of collective exhalation. The tension that had held them all by the throat for far too long was finally easing, replaced by the familiar, comforting hum of their ship and the vast, star-speckled void beyond. It's been one hell of a ride, Jessa said, breaking the silence as she closed her console with a satisfied snap. I could do without any more ancient temples for a while, or aliens with itchy trigger fingers, Ferris added, crossing his arms. Locke nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. But hey, look at us. We're still here. We've got a ship that's mostly in one piece, a crew that somehow hasn't killed each other, and a galaxy full of possibilities. Cal perked up, hope rekindling in his eyes. Do you think we'll actually get to, work with the aliens? Maybe learn from them. Depends, Nico said, on whether they're more interested in teaching us or dissecting us. Ever the optimist, Nico, Locke chuckled. Well, call me cynical, but I've seen how first contact usually goes, and it often involves a lot more screaming and a lot less handshakes, Nico replied. Locke stood, stretching the kinks out of his back. Either way, we've got a new day ahead of us. A fresh start, or as fresh as it gets when you're barreling through the cosmos in a glorified tin can. Jessa glanced up from her station, a hint of a smile on her lips. And what's the plan, Captain? More of the same reckless heroics. Let's just say we'll keep our options open, Locke replied. After all, chaos is just another word for opportunity. Ah, our old friend Chaos, Ferris grinned. I'd almost missed it. The teacup continued its journey, carrying its crew toward whatever awaited them next, whether it was a new adventure, a new alliance, or just another day of trying to keep their heads above the cosmic waters. Whatever happened, Locke knew they'd face it together, with humor, sarcasm, and the kind of reckless bravery only a crew like this could muster. As they sailed through the stars, Locke couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. They'd done the impossible, survived the unthinkable, and come out the other side with a few more scars and a lot more stories. And in the end, wasn't that what space exploration was all about? "All right, team," Locke said, settling back into his captain's chair with the kind of weary contentment that comes from a job well done. "Let's head home and see what kind of trouble we can get into next." The crew chuckled, the sound ringing through the ship with a warmth that belied their often cynical outlook. They'd faced the unknown and emerged not just intact, but stronger, bonded by the fires they'd danced through and the laughs they'd shared. As the teacup continued its journey through the endless sea of stars, Locke felt a sense of peace settle over him. They might be a ragtag bunch of misfits in a universe that seemed to delight in their misfortunes, but they were his misfits, and together they'd continue to defy the odds. "Captain," Cal said, breaking the comfortable silence, "do you think we'll ever get used to this? The danger, the unknown, all of it?" Locke pondered the question for a moment, his gaze sweeping over his crew and the vast expanse of space beyond. The universe was a strange, chaotic place, full of intrigue and danger, but it was also a place of wonder, where even the smallest actions could have the biggest impacts. "Maybe not," Locke admitted, a wry smile on his lips. "But that's what makes it all worth it, isn't it? The thrill of it all, the uncertainty. And knowing we've got each other's backs. Here's to more adventures then," Jessa said, raising an imaginary glass. "To chaos," Ferris added, chuckling softly. "To us," Nico finished, his voice full of warmth. Cal looked around at his crewmates, feeling a deep sense of camaraderie and belonging. "To us," he echoed, feeling more at home among this ragtag group than he'd ever felt anywhere else. As the stars streaked by outside, the teacup sailed on, carrying its crew through the vast, uncharted territory of space and time. They were explorers, adventurers, and survivors, and together there wasn't a challenge they couldn't face. Because in the end, it wasn't the universe that defined them, but each choice they made, each joke they shared, and each time they stood up again, ready to face whatever came next together. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose and a touch of rebellious defiance, the teacup continued its journey, its crew eager to see what lay beyond the next horizon, what mysteries and wonders awaited them in the ever-expanding cosmos. As the ship hummed with life and energy, Locke couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for his crew and the adventures they'd shared. They were a family, bound not by blood but by bonds forged in the fires of adversity, humor, and resilience. And that, more than anything, was what made their journey truly remarkable. As the universe unfolded before them, one thing was certain: whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them with the same irreverent spirit and unyielding determination that had carried them this far. Because in the end, it wasn't just about surviving. It was about living. And with a crew like this, Locke knew they'd live every moment to the fullest, embracing the chaos and the unknown with open arms and laughter in their hearts. "Here's to the next adventure,"